እንዴት አመሻችሁ? አይ ቲንክ ሚክስ ብናደርግ ጥሩ ነው አይደል? ሁለቱንም ቋንቋ ሚክስ እንዳናደርግ ሰዎች። ሶ ማይ ኔም ኢዝ Alazar Michael. I am co-founder and product development manager at Connect. Connect is an agri-tech company. We focus on developing, customizing and commercializing different agricultural technologies, and Hello Earth is our first product. It is a mechanization, agricultural mechanization marketplace that starts from the smallholder farmers and in this at the importer, exporter, the big actors. So by background, I have studied electrical engineering, but fortunately, I engaged in the agriculture sector. I get to know the agriculture sector, and I loved it so much. So, ብዙ ያልሰራ ሰው ብዙ ኢንትሮዳክሽን የለውም። ጥሩ ነበር። ሶ ዛሬ የምናወራው የጀነራሊ የኢትዮጵያ አግሪካልቸር ሴክተር ምን ይመስላል የሚለው ነው። just an overview of the Ethiopian agriculture sector. It is generally focusing on every aspect. Like Nabiyu said earlier, agriculture is very vast, especially like anywhere in the world, and for Ethiopia it is also the major economic contributor. So we can speak all the day, but we have to manage our time. So I will be just pick some of the issues that I think would be good for the audience here, and we can zoom in whenever we can chat. Good? Nice. So, Ethiopian agriculture is a major economic contributor. We have, it is just 75% of the foreign export earnings are sourced from the agriculture sector. We export most of the time. More than 90% of our product is exported without being processed in raw. Sometimes we export the raw material and import the processed ones. In most of the cases, that is the fact on the ground. It hires the 70% of the workforce, but still, even if it is higher than 70%, there is a doubt that like these 70% are they getting, the wage, the returns from the sector are very low. 40 million of grain production annually. Collectively, we just avoiding the fruits and vegetables. We produce around 40 million tons of grain in collective. Just you can see the data here. Most are the cereals, the teff, the maize, the soybean, actually pulses, oilseeds, vegetable root crops. These are all most of our productions, and we have got around 13 million hectare of land. Quite small, right? In some of the cases, these are even 2 or 3 countries, right? So it is a big land. But one of the compelling facts is it is around like 20% of the area of land from what we have. So we have got the opportunity to have or to add 80% of or like 2-3-fold of this one can be cultivated. Just to give an overview, like where do we stand in terms of in terms of East African or in terms of global production? Where do we stand? For example, just I picked some of the common crops that we produce together, right? So in the East African countries. So I just picked Burundi, Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. So in terms of productions, in terms of land, this is the data that I sourced it from the APO stat, which is one of the credible data sources for such kinds of information or such kind of data. So Tanzania have got like big area of cultivation compared to Ethiopia. and also production is also as well comparatively Ethiopia produces higher. There are but factors that I would came back again. In terms of productivity, now maize production has reached 4 ton per hectare, which is 40 quintals per hectare. But in some cases, now it is affected by the internal conflicts like the West Oromia, the Wallagga belt, and also the Rojam belt, the high production belts. I have encountered a farmer who has produced 120 quintals of maize in Wambara. It is part of the Gojam. So it is a border between Gojam and Wallagga. You know, Ethiopia is very, very vast, and also there are for example, in terms of agroecology, the southern part of Gojam is very similar to the northern part of Wallagga, right? So the productivity, agroecology are very similar. So in terms of maize production, we have come a long way through the improved crops, improved the seed. So it is comparatively well in terms of production, as well as wheat. The last 4 or 5 years, wheat production has also increased both in quantity and as well as in productivity per hectare. But when we come to the international big players like the Brazil, Russia, Ukraine, US, I have missed US, I think. So in terms of that, you can see the bars where we can live, because 1 ton per hectare means a lot. Just numbers sometimes mislead. It looks like a very small difference in between, but 1 ton per hectare is almost like that. Just it can't feed a family for a year, right? So in terms of yield, we have got a long to go. One fact we have to pick here is, though we produce a good amount of cereals, we are being challenged in post-harvest loss. For example, in maize, it is estimated that 30% of the produce that the farmer produces is lost after harvest, which means maize annually we have got 10 million ton of maize production. So it means 3 million ton is lost, right? So these are some of the factors that we have to crack in the number. So generally, how do we define agriculture and agribusiness? Agribusiness, in most of the cases, for example, in smallholder farming, for the farmers, agriculture is a lifestyle. It's not much of a business, right? But we have to make it a business. They have to, consider what they have invested, what they have gained in the revenue, what is their cost-benefit balance. So if we bring that kind of thoughts, agribusiness starts from production all the way to the consumer. So in the production even, input supply, input processing as business, right? Logistics, knowledge, information for the farmers. So lots of business are comprised here. Production, in a nutshell, have got lots of agribusinesses. Aggregation, like I said before, one of the post-harvest losses incurred are during aggregation, because people want to use the price advantage. So they collect from farmers, they hoard it, because one of the major harvest season is from November to January and February. So in that time, there is lots of production, price is down, so they have got the opportunity to purchase a lot. And by the time, this time around, there is no new production, so price will increase. So this time around, they would resell it into the market, even for the farmer. So just considering this, they don't properly handle what they have purchased. So in aggregation, there are lots of losses that we are incurring, and also our aggregation is very much lacking efficiencies. There are lots of actors, like, for example, there is a village marketplace, village collection, and a Warada city, or a rural, semi-rural city trader, and a big city traders like, in Adama, Hawassa, Gondar, Bahar Dar, name it, and then all the way to Addis, right? So there is, a very inefficient way of, production ways. So logistics efficiency is also one of the issues that we have got here. Then some of the aggregated products goes to the exporters. It could be through the ECX, or it could be their own collection mechanism. And some of the producers, very less comes to here. I want to share a bit of experience of the breweries. I don't know, anyone from the breweries? Heineken, Habesha, Soufflé, Brut Malt. Okay, good. So, when Heineken came in, there were like 90% of their malt was imported. So the government negotiated with them to incentivize them. If they could source their malt barley locally, they would get, some tax levies. So they started investing in the production in the malt barley sector. So they introduced the new seed supported farmers in new good way of productions, good way of collections, and after like 10 or 12 years from the start, now almost 70 to 75% of the malt barley for the breweries is now being produced locally. So in terms of considering processing, this is also one of the lessons that we have to consider. So except for the malt barley and some products like soybean and maize, most of our producers is to this line, to the international market, unprocessed. So then here in the export processing, there are lots of lines of businesses, and finally is the supermarkets and the retail outlets that the customer will get the producers from the shops. Generally, what I have put here is the enabling environment, or the enablers. One of the big enablers is policy. Like I mentioned earlier, the negotiation between the government and the Heineken is, it is a kind of bilateral. But like if we expand such kinds of things to the rest of, just generally for the ecosystem, for factories, for manufacturers who source their produces locally, if they get some kinds of levies, different kinds of things. I think it is a week or 2 weeks before the endorsement of the the extension, private sector extension policy. Now, for like 30 years, it was only the government who were allowed to train or give extension service for the farmers. They were the only people used as interface between anyone coming to the agriculture and the farmers. So I extensively had worked with lots of extension agents, so they were the one exerting the effort with less benefit. But now the private sector anyone is allowed to engage into the extension sector. So such kinds of enabling policies would really help to boost the agribusiness sector. The other is the finance. As you know, our financial sector is somehow an agrarian sector in agrarian country. Because yeah, because that is my honest thinking, and that is a fact on the ground. They less uh, involved in the agriculture sector. Even now, the National Bank is pushing 5% of their loan disbursement has to be in agriculture. I can share you a story. Like a year back, I have approached Dashin Bank for our startup, like to get loan, and they told us, like, yes, in principle we have to give you credit loan, but they told me a story that, like, they have because they have to fulfill the National Bank requirement, they have borrowed 1 billion for one company, right? Because, like, so they don't want, they don't want to hustle up with, small companies, so they just dump it somewhere, and, life continues. So our financial sector has to now, there are changes, we cannot deny. There are, banks like Cooperative Bank of Oromia are, putting a lot of effort to serve the agriculture sector, the smallholder farmers. But, compared to the expected involvement, there is a lot to be done. The other is research and innovation. Research and innovation, at the end of the day, agriculture is science, right? So we cannot we cannot neglect the science aspect, the research aspects for any new technologies or for any way of farming that we introduce. So there has to be, a serious research and innovation. But the challenge in the research and innovation is when we do it, or when it is done, we are not putting the final user in the space. For example, as I told you, I am engaged in agricultural mechanization, so I closely work with Melkasa and Kulumsa research centers. Somehow they are the center of excellence for mechanization. So there are lots of, off-the-shelf farm machineries and tools, but they are in the research center, not in the hands of the farmers. So there has to be, a way that we have linking these researches, these findings become, consumable for the farmers. So this is also one of the enablers. Service, like I said, the physical and also the digital, and also now there is a new term, digital. So it is a combination of physical and digital. So, for example, in our case, like our platform links farmers with mechanization service providers, right? But it is just Uberization of farm machinery. So it is like using a ride or a ferris for your transport here. But farmers do not have that privilege of, accessing smartphone, reliable connectivity, electricity. So what we do is we train agents, we keep with our application, so we send them to the farmers so that they would collect the demand from the farmers and link it to ours. So this is the digital concept, right? So such kinds of, or beyond, there are lots of services that we can introduce to the farming or the agriculture sector. Technology is still part of service, but I wanted to give it an emphasis because it is really important. There are lots of disruptive technologies that would help the smaller farmers. But like our agri-tech sector is very, very much low, or not growing very fast. Like I have started here or 3-4 years back. It is only 2 or 3 companies or startups that are still struggling to grow. Yes, there is new startups coming, but like if you compare it to our neighbor in Kenya last year, I think people from Carlo, the Kenyan Agricultural Research Center, they have got tech accelerator program. So they were accelerating around 40 agri-tech startups, and from the 40 agri-tech startups, almost I think 27 of them I think were graduated and already in the market. So there is a lot of potential, similar potentials here that we can work to bring in different kinds of solutions, because like the logistics efficiency, information, reliable information, market linkage, accessing inputs, getting extension advisory. There are lots of opportunities that are in the agriculture sector that we can work. So just say it like zooming into the opportunities, like some of the way forward. We have got abundant resource. like ቅድም እንዳየነው ነው ወደ 13 ሚሊዮን አካባቢ ሚሊዮን ሄክታር ነው አሁን ከረንትሊ እያለማን ያለ ነው። ያ ማለት ማልማት ከምንችለው it is only 20%. የዛን 4% ማሳደግ እንችላለን። We have got a big land. One of the big initiatives from the PM office, the lowland with agriculture is one of the disruptions. But it has to be it has to be sustainably into the hands of the farmers and the private sector, so that being aside from the political intentions, it has to be grounded into the roots with the farmers hand. Because if you consider the Afar and the Somali region, they are almost 1/3 of the country, so big land. So we have to make use of that land. Diversified climate. If you go around 200 kilometers around Addis, if you go in the east, just 100 kilometers away, it is very cold. If you go 100 kilometers away to the south, it is lowland. So generally, Ethiopia have got 5 agroecology zones that is very suitable for different kinds of agricultural production. 2 days back, I have been with a soil scientist, and he said in general there are 25 types of soils in the world, and Ethiopia have got 21 out of the 25. So there is nothing that we cannot grow here, right? The agroecology is similar. We are living in the tropics, very good kind of weather, and also certain months of sunshine, right? So there is a lot of opportunity and large labor force. 60% of the population is productivity, or it is use. So we have to use the use for really to make to change the agriculture sector, because unless otherwise we return back to the agriculture. One of the things that worries me whenever I'm in the field is frequently the kind of people I met, farmers are old. I rarely meet young farmers. So if our farmers are aging, then who is going to produce the next generation's food, or even our food? So we have to make, yes, the use. Any one of us may not be interested into to get into the agriculture the way our fathers, our forefathers were handling it. So we have to make agriculture very interesting enough for the young people to be attracted to it, because there is huge potential, huge opportunity in there. The other is if population is growing, then mouths to feed are growing, which is a demand. Yes, demand, paying demand, and just the demand are different, but still the local and the neighborhood, the African, the neighboring market, the international market is huge potential. And also there is lots of investment potential for anyone with money, anyone with access to finance can get sustainable income from the agriculture. Policy support, there is improving. We cannot say all the policies are very welcoming for people in the agriculture sector, but still we are seeing progress. Still we have to push for different policy supporters. For example, the land policy is one of the debatable issue. Even if we say like we are using 20% of our land, but the policy might not be supportive enough to access the remaining unserved or uncultivated land. So we have to work towards that. Yes, there are issues. The risk of privatizing land has got for countries like us, there is a saying, we are still in the communist hangover, right? We used to be communists, just we have turned to capitalists or to neo-capital kind of thing, but still the mentality still remains there. So we are still in the communist hangover, as a friend once said. So we have to really consider. I'm not just condemning the communist or the capitalist, but we have to come out of a fit for purpose kind of policies that will serve the farming community. The other is strategic location. As I said, in terms of agroecology, we have got 5 agroecology. In terms of arable land, in terms of water access, there are huge potential in terms of the nature and the environment. And in terms of export potential, we are, Middle East, Asia is very accessible, Europe is very accessible, even the US is not far, right? Relatively. So it is very strategic location for anyone who wants to access any market from here. It is logistically very much viable. And also the big markets, for example, the Middle East market, the Asia market, the Europe market is very, very attractive compared to what we are producing. But there are challenges that are not helping us harness those kinds of opportunities. One is, the challenge in low productivity. Like I said, even if our yield per hectare is increasing, what amount of investment that has taken compared to the other countries who are producing with the same productivity? Because, like, for example, for a farming household, all the 5 or the 6 members of the household are involved in the agriculture. And in Europe or somewhere in Asia, people are producing or cultivating big amount of land just with a very small people. So we have to compare and understand the productivity dynamics and help to improve those through the different kinds of technology interventions. Infrastructure gaps. There are still qabeles who are not accessing electricity. There are areas where there is no mobile connectivity. There are millions of farmers with no smartphone, live on a smartphone, just basic phones. So even the roads, one of the challenges that we are facing, for example, in making agricultural mechanization accessible for the smallholder farmers is infrastructure. If proper road is not there to connect to the village, it will be difficult, just to take there a combine harvester or a tractor. So infrastructure gaps are one of the pushing factors. And the other is the post-harvest loss. As I said earlier, our post-harvest loss is very huge. You were, I think, surprised with 30% of maize. If you go to the fruits and vegetables, that even escalates to 40 and 50%, right? So we have that very big post-harvest loss. As an entrepreneur, like, I always consider that as an opportunity for people who wanted to push their solution towards to it. Climate vulnerability, it is a simple fact that we can witness in our day-to-day lives. But for a person like me working with farmers or in the agriculture, it is a serious case. 2 years back, we were working with farmers to give them access to tractors in Minjar Shangora. So, the normal trend is in maize and May, there would be some rain, so that they would start land preparation so that like they would be starting to plant in June and in end of June and beginning of July. But that year there were no rain in May and April. So like it was very challenging for them because like the land could not be cropped. Even I wanted to focus first is research, innovation, and commercialization aspect. For example, there has been a product that I used to work while I was employed. I still work with that company. It is called the Pix Hermetic Bag. It is a hermetic storage bag that keeps grain intact from weevils for months without any intervention, chemical treatment, without any chemical treatment. So, this product now is very much popular in Ethiopia. Yearly 3-4 million bags are distributed. So this product is a product from the Purdue University of the US. It has been researched, and then Gates Foundation financed it to be commercialized. So with a proper supply chain and market development, it is properly commercialized. Now it is in the hand of the business without any donor investment. Still, yes, the NGOs are working on it because it is a very good solution. But such kinds of things has to be very much usual for our research centers, for our universities, to make their research findings available to the farmers, because it has got also a very good sense. If the farmers love it, if the farmers take it up, it is still that is also a rewarding solution. So that is how also our research, our findings, our innovations has to be tested in the hands of the users. It's not because like I very much I'm passionate about my product. It doesn't mean it is effective. It doesn't mean it is productive. It has to be tested, and the testimonies has to come from the end user. So that linkage from the research and the innovation, and also the commercial, the private sector is very critical. Tailored financial solutions. One of the issues that always the banks consider as a challenge or put as a challenge is, we have got lots of, like 14, 16 million smallholder households. In a household, if you consider an average of 5, then you can do the math. So, in terms of financing these kinds of population, the cost of the logistics is very high. That would also trigger the cost of financing to be expensive and the loan interest to become very unaffordable for the farmers. But it has to be tailored. At the end of the day, what is the best solution to? It could be financing for example, it could be financing an eco, or it could be financing a cooperative, so that it would simply do the informal but very trusted way of financing on the ground. So we have to come up with innovative financial solutions that would really address the needs of the farmers. Value addition is a very critical thing. But when you consider value addition, I think some of the people working in the value addition or in the processing would also we will be also listening, I think, stories from them. But one of the challenges I frequently hear is, sustainable supply of good quality products is challenging the processing sector. So we have to think of, end-to-end kind of thing. We have to work with the farmers in terms of, giving them access to improved seed, fertilizer, and also extension service, so that they adapt, good agricultural practices and also a very efficient logistics that would collect produces from them. That would make our agriculture more market-oriented, linked with the processing factories. That is also the story that I told you with the brewers, because the farmers were not having the risk of market as far as they produce for Heineken, as far as they deliver it to Heineken as per their requirement. So yes, it's not simple as we thought, because there has been lots of investments from the Dutch Ministry of Foreign Affairs, from the IFC. So there is there were huge investments, but it has to be also some trigger point for our policy makers, because like how do they incentivize such kinds of local processors that are working with farmers. I know people who are working in herbs and essential oils that are working closely with the farmers, but it is agriculture, working in agriculture is as well as it is entertaining, very lovable, but it's also expensive and logistically intensive. So there are lots of things too. So when we consider processing, working with the farmer, closely working with the farmers would ensure our access to quality and well suited amount of product that we wanted from the farmers. We have to learn. We have to learn from the best practices and from the failures. For example, coming back to agricultural mechanization, that, for example, we say, farmers has to use tractors, but one of the drawbacks of tractors is soil depletion, because if they dig or during tillage, if they deep down into the ground, there would happen, nutrient depletion, because they would bring out the nutrients to the surface. So some of them would be eroded, some of them would be evaporated. So such kinds of things would be degrading the soil, which is going to be a risk. Every plant, everything we get or everything we eat is from the soil, from the nutrients from the soil. So now we have to be conscious while you are using the tractor. So we have to adapt what the mitigations, not the remedial after making or repeating the same mistake. We should not go to the remedial, but we have to adjust our ways of operation. The other is dynamic and supporting policy for regenerative agriculture. Currently, for example, the government of the United States is subsidizing farmers who are using regenerative agriculture, right? Because they wanted to encourage regenerative agriculture. People, in most of the cases, consider nature-based agriculture or regenerative agricultures as less productive compared to the production system that hugely uses synthetic chemicals. But the story on the ground tells a different. They are becoming very productive by applying regenerative agriculture. So instead of we lost our nutrient, we deplete our soil. If we take up the concept of such kinds of concepts as early as possible, it would really help us to maintain our nutrients, our natural resources intact, and also increase our productivity. So in a nutshell, this is the kind of thought I wanted to share. Any questions, feedback, comments are very welcome. Thank you for your attention.
So as far as the number in your head, based on the agriculture, do you have a percentage of like the number of products that's produced that are like GMO versus like organic?
That really needs scientific, database kind of answer, but from my perspective, currently we are using imported seeds for fruits and vegetables, which I expect is somehow more or less kind of GMO. But in most of the cases, for example, for maize, the productivity has increased through a hybrid seed. So there is a confusion between hybrid seeds and GMO seeds. For the last few years, our policy strictly avoids GMO seeds, but now there is some kind of accommodating approach, which is also a risk for us. As you know, like for example, there has been the EU have got a regulation, for example, not to import GMO soybean. So I think such kinds of push are also one of the learning that we have to take is the world is coming back against GMO, and like we are a bit starting to promote GMO, which is a paradox. So that is the learning. But in terms of in our vegetable, I think the GMO is becoming popular, but there is a lot of efforts in terms of replacing them with hybrid seeds. So the challenge in terms of seed is our indigenous seeds are somehow unproductive. That is the triggering point of pushing improved seeds to the farmers. But there is a risk of the seed politics.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the reason I was asking, because a lot of the seeds, they actually can ruin the soil themselves, a lot of the GMO seeds.
Yeah.
And when I think about, and I'm just talking from somebody, I've been here a couple of years, and just from coming from the States and being here, and I know one of the most said things from all Habesha that I ever meet is, we've never been colonized. And I'm like, and that's as a people, and I feel like also with the soil, which you just talked about, when you said a researcher came and you said out of the 24 soils, Ethiopia has like 21 of them, that means really you can grow almost anything, and as opposed to not just being colonized from the people, not allowing a lot of the foreign seeds to come in and colonize like the land and destroy the land, because I feel like with Ethiopia having such a rich soil that it has, you guys can actually, you can create your own niche as far as like products being organic, because right now, organic is the thing. That is what people pay top dollar for, and the way you can bring in youthful farmers is when they get more money for their product. And you could get more money from your product if it could be proven to be organic. And so what I'm saying is that could be like a focal point of like, Ethiopia would be the niche of organic farming. So all of these restaurants around the world, grocery stores, whatever, we know if we want organic product, we come to Ethiopia because, like you said, it has some of the most fertile soil in the world, and you don't want that ruined by a lot of the GMOs.
Yeah, I mean, like I totally agree with what you have said, because there is the terminology, the seed sovereignty movement. So, for example, in the case of the malt barley, for example, the malt barley productivity and also all these activities is through the imported seed. So, like normally the indigenous malt barley is the Ethiopian origin, right? But now it's now being replaced with imported seed. So it is really one of the concerns and the risks that our agriculture is facing. And also, like, there is also a challenge for this. We have got a growing population that we have to feed. And for example, our indigenous seed might be 10 quintal per hectare, whereas the imported seed being 30, 40 quintals per hectare. So it is there are pressing challenges, but we have to be smart enough, at least to maintain our seed reserves we have to have got this the gene banks that we preserve. I met farmers in Minjar Shankora. They just allocated a plot that they always plant indigenous F, so that it is being reserved. That is the effort that a farmer doing.
Yeah, like a Noah's Ark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this kinds of consciousness has to be in our mind. But the seed politics, the big players behind it. So we have to be dynamic.
My name is Anna. I'm very much fascinated with this agricultural products. Really, thank you very much for your nice presentation. My question is that let us take a case study of our stable food tape. How is the productivity of tape? In a recent stream radio, I heard about the total quantity of tape in Ethiopia is around 54 million quintals. If you take our population, 120 million, if you take a household, we divide with a household, it will be around 25 million households. If you divide it, the total 54 million quintals by the household, it will be 2 quintals per year. That's why the population is growing fast, but the production growing down. It will be a very challenging thing. How is your reflections on these points? Because it will be more expensive every time, so because it cannot match in this way. Just to know your reflection on this part.
Yeah. There will not be a single solution for such kinds of complex challenges, because it's not that if productivity that has declined, but our production or our productivity grows and our population grows are not matching. Where our population is almost increasing like 2, 3, 4 millions a year. So this is a very challenging fact. So we have to also adapt different culture. Our feeding culture could be has to be also adjusted with our production. For example, maize has to be mixed. Sorghum, for example, in Ethiopia, we can produce a lot. Like, for example, one of our big production is maize. Annually, we produce around 10 million metric ton or 100 million quintal of maize annually. But we can produce similar amount of sorghum, and sorghum can also mix up with teff and reduce our teff consumption with a very nutrient value. So we have to increase our productivity. We have to also increase or enhance or somehow adjust our food culture. So it is not as straightforward. And also we have got lands that are not used. When it comes to teff, for example, it is a less mechanized sector, which is incurring around 20-25% of harvest and post-harvest loss. Yes, it will not be attacked by weevil or insect after it is produced, but because of its dynamics, it is grassy nature. It is always being harvested with hand, threshed with oxen. So we have got lots of losses there. So if we, for example, reduce that loss into 1-2%, then there would be also increase in our with the current production. We have got somehow a very promisable spaces. So different actions would be necessary.
መጀመሪያ አመሰግናለሁ። ትልቁ ነገር እዚህ ላይ መነሳሳት መምጣቱ እንግዲህ አግሪካልቸር ወሳኝ ነገር ነው። በአሁኑ ጊዜ ሁሉ ነገር እየተወደደ ያለው የሌላ ነገር ሳይሆን እሱ ነው። ከአንድ ሰዓት በፊት የሰማሁት ምንድን ነው እንቁላል በዚህ ታስረፍስ ነው አዲስ አበባ 13 አካባቢ የተሸጠ ነው። እና ምን ለማለት ፈልጌ ነው እንደዚህ አይነት ነገር ማብዛት እና አንዱ ሌሎችን እንትላለሁ እኔ ዋናው ጥያቄ ምንድነው አግሪ ቢዝነስ ላይ ነው ፕሮዳክሽን ኢሪጌሽን ኤክስፖርት እና የሚል 5 ነገሮችን እና ኢንፑቱ አግሪ ቢዝነስ ለምን አላስገባው የሚል ሁለተኛ ጥያቄ ደግሞ this my first second question is vital human resource ላይ human activity ላይ ምንድን ነው ትልቁ እስካሁን ወደፊትም እየጠየቁት በሬዎች አሉ እንጂ የበሬ በሽታ ከመጣ ሁላችንም ጋር ልንሞት ነው ማለት ነው እንደሚመስለኝ ከሆነ ለዛም ትምህርት ለዚህም ትምህርት ያስፈልጋል ግን ካን አግሪካልቸራል ፐርሰን agricultural people who are learning could give a better knowledge to the farmers. ለመሆኑ እነዚህ የተማሩ ለገበሬው ጥሩ ትምህርት እንግዲህ እያነሰ ነው ያለው። ጥሩ ትምህርት ማለት በጥሩ ካስተማሪ ተማሪና አስተማሪ የዚህ አይነት አሴስ ያደረገው ነገር አለ። አንደኛ ሁለተኛ መጨረሻ ላይ የምጠይቀው ትንሽ ትራክተሩ ላይ ትራክተር ማለት ለምን በጣም እንደ ትልቅ እንትን መውሰድ የለብንም። ኢንኤፊሽንት ማነው ችግሩ ይሄ ነው አፈር ይገለብጣል የሚለው እንደው ባይነገር ጥሩ ነው። ለምን መሰለህ እንትን እያልን ያለን ወደዛ ለመሄድ ችግር ነው። ራሱ ትራክተር እንዴት እንደሚሰጥ ታውቃለህ? በስንት መከራ በስንት ጦርነት በቃ በነፃ የሚሰጣቸው ገዝተው ለመግዛትም መከራ ነው። በነፃ የሚሰጣቸውም ሰዎች እንትን ነው አንዱ ያ ነው። ግን እንደዛም ሲሆን ደግሞ ኤፌክቲቭ ነው። አይተህ እንደሆነ አሁን እንጀራ ሸንኮራውን ያልከውና ድንገት ገለጻው ላይ እንትን እዛ ውስጥ የለውበትም ግን አፈር ይገለብጣል። አሁን ኦልሞስት ምርት ለካስ ጥሩ የማይመረተው በሱ እየገለበጠው የሚል ነገር ይመጣል። ኢንሎጂክ እና አይ እኔ እንደትሉ ታየው ሌላ እንግዲህ ትንሽ ቅር የሚለኝ በብዛት ሁላችንም ቅር የሚለው ገበሬው ግብርና በሙሉ ኦልሞስት ሽማግሌዎች እያሉት ነው። በእድሜ ከፍ እያሉት ነው። እንደው ለዚህን ጥራት ያደረጋችሁት ነገር አለ እንዲመለስ ወደ ግብርና እንዲመለስ ወደ ግብርና እንዲመለስ እዛው ሁለት ስራ እንዲሰራ አሁን አንዳንድ ሰው ነጋዴ ከሆነ ያባቱ ሄዶ እንዲያርስ አንድ እሱ ነው የሚደረግበት አንዳንድ ሜካኒዝም የፈጠራችሁት ነገር አለ ወይ ነው። ሌላ እንግዲህ ዛሬ የሰማሁት ውሸት አላውቅም። ሌሎች ሀገሮች እህል በተለይ ፖቴቶ ምናምን የተወሰኑ ነገሮችን ፍሪዘርቭ እያደረጉ እስከ 2 እስከ 3 ዓመት እያስቀመጡ ነው እና እኛ ሀገር ደግሞ እህል ይመረታል ወይ ፖቴቶ ወይ ቅድም እንዳልከው ፍሩት እንትን ይመረታል። ከዛ በኋላ አንዴ ያልቃል የሚል ነገር አለና ይህንን ስምታለ አመሰግናለሁ።
ብዙ ነገር ነው። ከዚህኛው ጥያቄ ልነሳ። ከመጀመሪያው ጥያቄ ፕሮዳክሽን ስንል እንግዲህ ፋርም ፕሮዳክሽን የሚጀምረው ከመሬት ዝግጅት ማለት ለአንድ ፕሪፓሬሽን ከምንለው ጀምሮ ነው። እዚህ ውስጥ እንትኑን ላይኑን እያንዳንዳቸውን ነገሮች እንትን ካልኳቸው በጣም ስለሚሰፋ አጠቃላይ የእርሻው ፕሮዳክሽን ያልነው ከመሬት ዝግጅት፣ ከዘር አቅርቦት፣ ከማዳበሪያ አቅርቦት እና ከእሱ ጋር ተያያዥ ከሆኑ ቢዝነሶች አንስቶ እስከ ሃርቨስት ትረሺንግ እሱን ደግሞ አጠቃላይ ፓክ አድርጎ ወይ ወደ ገበያ እስከ ማቅረብ ያለውን እዚህ እስከ አግሪጌሽን ድረስ ያለውን በሙሉ እዚህ ውስጥ ስለጠቀለልኩት ነው እንጂ የኢንፑት ከኢንፑት ከኢንፑት እስከ አውትፑት ያለው ፕሮዳክሽን የሚለው ውስጥ ያሉት አግሪ ቢዝነሶች እነሱ ናቸው ለአርሶ አደር እንትን ከማቅረብ አንጻር። ሌላው ከእንግዲህ በነገራችን ላይ የእኛ አርሶ አደር ቅድም እንደነገርኳችሁ ነው በስራ የሚማር ስለሆነ ብዙ ኢንዲጂኒየስ ኖሌጅ አለ። we should not undermine the knowledge of the indigenous wisdom of the farmers. And one of the challenges, when we approach farmers, just we present ourselves as people just who knows more about their business, which is in most of the cases would be a wrong approach. there are, so the learning has to be two ways. So እንዲህ አይነት የሆነ የኤክስቴንሽን ሲስተም መጠቀም አለብን። ግን ኢትዮጵያን የእኛን ኬስ ከወሰድ ነው ለምሳሌ ከቻይና ቀጥሎ ሁለተኛው ብዙ ኤክስቴንሽን ኤጀንት ያላት ሀገር ኢትዮጵያ ናት። ከ65 እስከ 70 ሺህ የሚገመት ኤክስቴንሽን ሰራተኛ መሬት ላይ አለ፣ ቀበሌ ላይ ማለት ነው። አንድ ቀበሌ ላይ
እሱን ስለማውቀው እያንዳንዱ ገበሬ ማህበር ከ5 ከ6 ያላነሳል። እንደዚህ እነሱን ጠቅሟቸዋል ወይ ነው
አርሶ አደሮቹን ያው ጥናት ያስፈልገዋል። ግን ብዙ ጊዜ በሚፈለገው ደረጃ ለውጥ አላመጣም። ግን ደግሞ ያመጣባቸው አሁን ለምሳሌ የሜዝን ፕሮዳክቲቪቲ ስንመለከት እኔ ኮመርሻል ፋርመር ጋምቤላ እርሻ ያለው ሰው በሄክታር 12 ኩንታል እያመረተ ወለጋ ያለ አርሶ አደር ግን 40 እና 50 ኩንታል በሄክታር የሚያመርትባቸው ኬዞችን ዊትነስ አድርጌያለሁ። ያ የመጣው ምንድነው ገበሬው ጋር ፑሽ በማድረግ እና ግን የኑሮ ሁኔታው እየተለወጠ ሲመጣ ሪዋርዲንግ ሲስተም አላስቀመጥንም። ጂኦቻችንን ኤክስቴንሽን ኤጀንቶቻችን በሚያወጡት ምክንያቱም ኤኒ ኤንጂኦ ይሂድ፣ ግብርና ውስጥ የምትሰሩ ሰዎች ካላችሁ ታውቃላችሁ። ማንም ኤንጂኦ ይሂድ፣ ባለው አግሮ ኬሚካል ያለው ይሂድ፣ ማንም ይሂድ ከገበሬ ጋር ለመስራት የግድ ከዲኤ ጋር ነው የሚሰራው እና ዳር ኢንተርፌስ ግን ሪዋርዲንግ ስላልነበረ በሚፈለገው ሌብል ለውጥ አላመጣም፣ ጥቅም አላመጣም። አሁን የመልቲ ስቴክሆልደር ኤክስቴንሽን አፕሮች አሁን መንግስት ሪቫይዝ ያደረገው ፖሊሲ ቱ ሰፖርት ዛት ነው። ያ ማለት ምን ማለት ነው? አንደኛ ኤክስቴንሽን የሚሰጠውን ሰውዬ ላይክ እርን ማድረግ የሚችለው አርሶ አደሮቹ ከሱ በሚያገኙት ሰርቪስ ለውጥ ማምጣት ሲችሉ ነው አይደል? አንድ ጊዜ አድቫይዘሪ በመስጠት ትሬኒንግ በመስጠት አርሶ አደሮቹ ለውጥ ካዩበት they would continue to be his clients ማለት ነው። ስለዚህ somehow ወደ ቢዝነስነት መምጣቱ ሞር ሪዛልት ኦሪየንትድ ይሆናል። ጀስት አሁን አንድ ዲኤ ቢሮውም በቤቱም ቁጭ ብሎ ሪፖርት ቢልክና ፊልድ ሄዶ ሪፖርት ቢልክ ማንም ኢቫሉዌት አያደርገው። ጎይንግ ፎርዋርድ ግን እንደዚህ አይነት ሲስተሞች ኢንፕሌስ ሲሆኑ ራሱ አርሶ አደሩ ከፋይ ስለሚሆን ወይም ደግሞ ከአርሶ አደሩ ጋር የሚሰሩ ኦርጋናይዜሽኖች ስለሚሆኑ ከፋይ የሚሆኑት ውጤትን መሰረት ያደረገ ሪዋርዲንግ ሲስተም ይኖራል። እስካሁን ግን ባለው we cannot conclude it was not efficient ነው ብለንም ኮንክሉድ ማድረግ አንችልም። በሚፈልገውን ደረጃ ደግሞ ውጤት አምጥቷል ማለት አንችልም። ግን ሪሊ አንደርማይን የማይደረግ ኢፌክት ነበረው። ወደ ትራክተሩ ስንመጣ አይ ካን አንደርስታንድ ካለው የቴክኖሎጂ አዳፕቴሽን እና የሆነች ነገር ይዞ የሆነን ነገር ሌብል አድርጎ ከገበያ የማስወጣት ካልቸራችን ጋር በተያያዘ ልክ ነው። እሱ ነገር ኢፌክት አለው፣ ጥንቃቄ ማድረግ ያስፈልጋል። ግን ደግሞ we cannot deny facts as a of the day እውነታ ነው። እኔ አሁን to be honest ትራክተር ቢስፋፋ ነው በጣም ተጠቃሚ መሆን because I am mechanization service provider ነኝ as a of the day። ግን ይሄንን ፋክት እንደሌለ መቁጠር ግን አልፈልግም። because there is a way ትራክተሩ ራሱ ዲፕሊት ሳያደርግ አፈሩን በጣም ሳይሸረሽር የሚያርስበት ሜካኒዝም አለ። there is the low tillage farming or zero tillage farming የሚባሉ ሲስተሞች አሉ። በጣም መሬቱን ትንሳይ። ሁለተኛ ኦፕሬተሮቻችን ትራክተሩን ኦፕሬት የሚያደርጉት ኦፕሬተሮቻችን እንትናቸው ጉዳያቸው ይሄኛውን መሬት ጨርሶ ወደዛው መሄዱ ነው እንጂ እንትን አይደለም። ስለዚህ እነሱን በማሰልጠን አዌርነስ በማምጣት ይሄ ፕሮፐር ዩዝ ማምጣት አለ እንጂ at the end of the day ትራክተሩን ካስፋፋ ነው አፈር ዲፕሊት ካደረገ በኋላ because አፈራችን አሁን የትራክተር ቻሌንጅ ብቻ አይደለም ያለው in terms of depletion። እንደሚያውቁት ብላንኬት ዩዝ ኦፍ ፈርቲላይዘር ነበር ስንጠቀም ነበር። whatever land was being taken or being applied urea and DAP, no matter what kind of nutrient was available or were not available. Where there is no nutrient analysis of the soil, just there was only a blanket use of fertilizer. Yeah, by itself has brought a depletion. ስለዚህ እንትኑ ስፓይራል ኢፌክት የሆነ ስለሚቀጥል ኢሹን ካለ ማንሳት አንስተን አድሬስ ብናደርገው አዌርነስ ላይ በደንብ ብንሰራ ጥሩ ነው። ግን ጥንቃቄ ማድረግ ያስፈልጋል የሚለው ነገር ክሪቲካል ነው የሚል ቴክ አፕ ነው ያለኝ። አይ ቲንክ ሌላ የረሳው ጥያቄ ካለ መለሳለሁ። እንዴት አድርገን እናድርግ ሰዓታችን?
ለዛሬ የአግሪካልቸር ነው ብለን በቆሎ አዘጋጅተን መንከሪያም ካስፈለገሽ እሱን እንብላና አይ ቲንክ እስከ ሲያርግ እንቀጣለን። ሰዓትም እንዳይሄድብን